You're on.
All right. Hey guys. This week we've been talking about sleep and cravings, something I know that we all deal with. And last week we were talking about stress. This week it all kind of, ties in together. And, one thing that we underestimate is the power of sleep and how much that's really helping us function properly through the course of the day and balancing everything in our bodies, our body systems. So we have our biological rhythms that happen that help us just revitalize all of our, I'm tired.
and that's what happens. You can't maintain focus.
Exactly. So I have family in town, and I've been sleeping on my couch. Okay. So, when we get enough rest, we're able to counter the effects of cortisol, which we discussed are, as one of our stress hormones that really has an effect on our weight, and then also has an effect and has been shown to lead to depression. So, when we're getting adequate amounts of sleep, we're able to eliminate a lot of that. So that was one of the tips that we had touched on this week. And we also talked about, where do cravings come from? When we're looking at our emotional needs or our certain behaviors, as well as our nutritional needs being met, the trick is uncovering where it's coming from. Like, is it emotional? Is it nutritional? Is it just a behavior that we've kind of picked up unconsciously over time? For example, let's say one night we just don't sleep like last night for me. So what we wanted, or what a tendency is to kind of crave things that are going to kind of pick us up, whether that be sugary foods or coffee, caffeine. So one way to go about addressing that is having your coffee in the morning, continuing to have your coffee, not saying you can't have it, but having it, and then also continuing to keep yourself hydrated throughout the day. The best way to bypass those if our nutritional and emotional needs are being met is to try to continue to eat in a balanced way. If we're not getting enough of the nutrition from our food that we need, we're automatically going to reach for certain things that, one, if we're set off by a trigger, by the smell or sight of food, we'll naturally gravitate towards potentially the things that maybe don't serve us as well. So just kind of even having that front of mind as triggers start to present themselves is just good to be aware of.
Fran, the point being on that is not to put ourselves in a position where we feel like we're having to deny ourselves, because when we start to deny ourselves, we start to crave it even more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and we all have experienced that, which we were just talking about.
Yep.
It's like, if you can't have something, you want it, right? So let's give ourselves the freedom to have it, because it's not going to kill us. It's not. But we have to be thinking about, allowing us that time and giving us that, maybe creating a little bit of structure around it to say, what, I'm gonna enjoy this, and I'm not gonna deny it, but I'm gonna know how to manage a certain trigger or a craving as it comes moving forward, and it starts to get easier and easier, and then you start to take away that power that you've given that piece of chocolate or that cookie or that cake. So yeah. So then another thing that we talked about with helping us sleep is learning how to, or practicing, which I have to tell myself this all the time. I teach all this stuff because I need to learn it the most, I think, myself. But is stepping away from all the stimuli that we're constantly bombarded by. At work, we're multitasking like crazy, and we've got a million things going on. And so when we go home, and we tend to check email, continue to check email, or watch TV, or, doing something on our computers. So really taking time, an hour to 2 hours before you go to bed, to turn it all off, to completely turn it all off and start to let your body unwind so that you can get into a restful, night's sleep. And then lastly, I wanted to just touch on briefly about our sweet cravings. So we all have them, and which is very normal and natural. Biologically, we're programmed to have them because from an evolutionary perspective, we needed to have that craving to survive. We sought out, though, fresh vegetables and berries and fruits. So that's how we survived back in the day. But now we have this just huge array of options now that are really high in sugar and salt. And so, it's, again, finding ways to meet those cravings without overdoing it. And so some certain ways that you can do that, even just with food, is some things we've talked about, which are incorporating more sweet vegetables. And, like there's roasting vegetables really brings out the sweetness in them. And then steaming as well. So, beets, carrots, sweet potatoes, squash, all great foods that have a sweetness that will really help us if we are having one of those cravings. Then we can try that out. I know that's not our instinct to be like, oh, I think I want to go have a sweet potato, but just give it a try. Give it a try and see if your sweet craving disappears. Experiment with it and let us know.
Well, Fran, one potential issue with that is that stuff isn't as readily available as a package of Chip Ahoy's or
right.
like a bag of M&Ms. So
yeah.
Is going to talk into the realities of it all.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And so there's different ways to address that.
Thank you for saying that was a great question.
You're so welcome. So there's ways that are actually foods that are a little more convenient if you can't go out and roast your vegetables for one day, which isn't really all that practical for a lot of us. But you can find things at the market that are, whether it be fruit or dried fruit, that really have sweet flavor that will account for that craving a lot of times that we are going after, which is what I like to do.
And that's the difference. It's not so much that we're fulfilling this need for that piece of chocolate. We're fulfilling a need for a craving of something sweet. So your body doesn't care what it is. It just wants something that is going to fulfill that craving, and we have the opportunity to make that choice on what it is.
Yeah, and your body, your body would love it to be something that has more nutritional density. So like, when it comes to the actual, what you're choosing, that's what's key. So making sure, you're thinking about the types of things that you're reaching for. And there's lots of great options when it comes to dried fruit. There's already packaged things that we've already talked about the ingredient list, which could be some of those dehydrated even vegetable crisps and things like that. Making sure you're taking a look at the label to see how they've been prepared, and those are some great snacks that will fulfill some of those cravings. So, hope that's helpful.
That's good stuff.
Great. All right. I hope you guys have a good week, and we'll see you next time.